So this is the diagram they give us, and this is just the sun and a very small example of the Earth's orbit. And we just had our summer solstice, which means Friday. I think it was Friday.
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday, one of those. But I think it was Friday. It was the longest sunlight day of the year. Goodness. But it says because of the angle during winter, the energy from the sun must travel through more atmosphere to reach the poles. Also, a given amount of the sun's energy is spread over a larger area. But anyhow, that is the gist of a very simple explanation of why we have seasons. But we're going to use that in this data table to answer some of these questions. It says the table below compares the average number of minutes of daylight and average temperature in degrees Celsius for a recent year in Round Rock, Texas by month. So you can see, starts in January, goes through June, and you can see the change of the minutes of daylight and the change in temperature. And then it has July to December over here, and you can see the minutes of the decrease and then the temperature decrease. And it's in Celsius.
Yeah, that kind of threw me off for a second. I was like, wait a second. No.
Yeah, a lot warmer than that. And I cheat and I use, and like we make sure the kids know how to do that for it, but I cheat and use a calculator online.
I know how to do it if I have the formula in front of me.
Exactly. I need that, and I don't know that on the top of my head. So, we are just going to, this isn't really like you have to do math problems to solve it, but there's any of those if you want to do that. But just using this information and how to basically go back into the story and the table and find our answers, basically. Number 1, in this relationship, is the temperature the independent or the dependent variable? Remember what the dependent and independent variables are?
Kind of. I'm gonna say it's the dependent one.
The temperature is the dependent one, yes. And what is it dependent upon?
The sunlight time.
There you go, the minutes of sunlight.
I knew what I was trying to say, I just couldn't get minutes to come out of my mouth.
What is the domain and range for this relationship? Dun, dun, dun. I'm cheating. I'm cheating.
Excuse me.
So the domain would be the differences of minutes of sunlight, and the range would be the temperature. And then could you add numerical values to those?
Huh?
Can you put numbers beside the words?
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
Numerical values, just numbers. I was trying to sound all fancy schmancy with my vocabulary.
I do that to my teachers too, so don't feel bad.
And all you really need is just the lowest and the highest values.
Yeah, I like doing them though.
But writing it out like that is a very easy way to compare it then.
Sometimes we usually do this to, like when we're graphing stuff. If we have a chart, we write it out in the domain range so that we can do it easier. Because then they're right on top of each other.
We have a very hard time getting kids stuff, and we're working with sets of data to do that. So I'm glad that you are doing that.
It's so much easier once you get to high school because you get such awkward numbers sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you almost have to do this to be able to do it.
I'm glad. Now I can say, in high school, you don't need to do this. Which means in college. you
It's
don't need
more
this.
in the Algebra 1 because you go over a lot of the graphing and stuff in Algebra 1.
Mhm. My stuff didn't take very good last time, so I'm like paranoid it's not going to. Just emotional.
I like how the January is 11, it goes up to the 31, I guess, and then it goes down, and it goes back down to like 9. Because it's a difference in the temperature.
Mhm.
I just noticed that.
Very interesting to see that from here,
Yeah.
what the difference is. Number 3, is this an increasing or decreasing relationship? Or
Both.
both, yes.
Half the year it goes up, the other half goes down.
So it is both.
Okay, I was gonna say increases, but I put a D there, so. Good.
Very nice. If the average temperature was 21 degrees Celsius, how many minutes of daylight would you expect? So we can look to see where 21 would fall in.
It's about the same distance. I forgot what's on, so I could just do. But that was something like that. What am I doing?
I like it. So think of how many steps is it between 19 and 22.
Wait, what is the one?
Very nice. Now, your favorite part, if you explain to me in words what you and why you chose to do. Remember this one right here, we are going to try to explain and tell them why we chose to do that.
With this, I saw that I needed the 21 degrees. I saw that there was 22 and 19. So I subtracted them to see the difference between them. And then I had to figure out how many degrees difference there was between them so I could figure out the question. And I got that there were 23.3 degrees or minutes difference. So realizing that it was a 22 and I needed to get 21, I just subtracted the 23.3 from the 775 to get the approximate, rather than going from the 19 and adding it
Very good.
twice.
That makes sense. I understand what you did, yes. Next, we didn't do these two very well the last time we did this. But look over what we have done, or you have done in this instance, and does it make sense?
Yeah,
Why does it make sense?
because it was kind of just, it went with my thought process. I figured that out, so I subtracted it, and I had to divide it by the number of like the units between them. And I like to try to keep my answer in the middle. So I came over here and I did that's like the mathematical, and I answered it.
Does this number make sense that it could be for 21?
Yeah. I could have rounded it to 752, but
Why does it make sense? No, use nothing down here except for your answer, and why could that make sense? Why does that make sense that that could be?
because it's high enough over the 687, but it's still under the 775.
There you go. We examined our answer. That's it. Thank God. If a month had 810 minutes of daylight, what average temperature would you predict? So, same thing, just opposite is what would they have given us. So you can see where 810 would come into your week.
Kind of either one of these. Not that. That.
I think I would look at this one.
So there's a bigger.
Well, if you look over here, there's only one option, because these are our whole numbers in here. Think of looking at it, would choose this one. Well, I guess this one doesn't even have an option in the middle.
Just like a half degree.
Yeah. And these are our whole numbers, so it would have to be one of those. That one would be 23.
That's what I was thinking.
Let's see what they tell us. Don't tell us anything, I answered my own thing. So I would say that. And did you know that on our OAAs, if you can explain it like that without having to do anything mathematical, they will accept it?
Because I would get out of doing the math and I would just explain it.
Yeah, and that's acceptable.
Like they'd give us a question to like analyze a graph or whatever. Like do the domain and range and stuff, and then we'd have to answer a question or whatever. And I just kind of word my way out of it instead of number my way.
It's okay, though.
Just easier.
But
So-
you feel very, like you are very strong with language arts.
Yeah.
Reading, so I think that's great that you were able to take that.
I use what I know I can
Yeah.
do rather than guessing.
Absolutely, I think that's awesome that you can do that.
I did that with the OCs, with the math one, because they had extended response and short answer and stuff. And I just kind of threw some words on the paper. I don't know if I got full points for them, because we don't find out which ones we missed or anything. We just know how we scored. But I just kind of threw some words down. I passed.
Okay,
That's all I care about.
that's true.
So, I don't know.
That's what I would do, just,
Average temperature, so I guess that the 23 would make more sense, because if I average this, I'm gonna get the decimal between them. I'm just gonna say
works for me. That is what makes sense to me too.
At first I thought about doing this one, but then looking at the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
this one, like, for them to be so close, they're so far away.
They are.
Which, I was like, no. Just because it's such a different, they're such a close degree.
Very nice, dear. And then this one, they give you, the information. And then it also talks about the equation, how to figure that out. They want it correctly or give you correctly.
I have a scientific one on here.
Okay. Because I'm all about using things that you're allowed to use. Which I think is horrible, because we teach our kids how to use it, but they can't.
The one way, it's a regular calculator. Scientific
It's the
calculator.
same way, yes. I like that one too. So I'm gonna ask you to do this, and I'm gonna ask you to do that.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Okay, so this is the heating and cooling buildings. Heating and cooling are usually the biggest use of energy in the house. Warming the house in the colder months and cooling it in the warm summer months can require significant amounts of energy. The basic reason is that heat tends to move from warmer areas to cooler areas as a system moves towards equilibrium or balance. The bigger the difference between the indoor and outdoor temperature, the more energy will be needed to maintain indoor temperature, and the higher the cost. In the winter, a home is warmer than the outside temperature. Heat will tend to move from the house towards the outside through convection, conduction, or radiation. It then takes energy to maintain a comfortable indoor temperature. In the summer, the opposite temperature flow occurs. The outside temperature is warmer than would be comfortable, and the heat moves from outdoors towards the inside of the house. We then use energy to make our homes cooler through air conditioners and fans. Insulation can slow the movement of heat, but won't stop it.
Little diagram.
That's just, yeah.
Just a little summary. Was there anything in these two paragraphs that did not make sense to you, you were unsure about what they meant?
It's all stuff that I've heard in science or math, just, and
Another equation here.
oh geez. The relationship between the average monthly temperature and the heating and cooling cost of Miles' house is given by the equation below. That's a
Let's see
lot.
the equation, yeah.
So it's, in the equation, D is the monthly bill in dollars, and C is the average monthly temperature in degrees Celsius. So, I'm just trying to,
So you need to figure out his bill.
yeah.
So, skip this for a moment and
Yeah.
read that first one.
Use the equation to create a data table that shows what the monthly bill would be for temperatures of 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35 degrees Celsius.
So here's this, if you want to
My
use
notebook.
paper and pencil, yes.
Okay, I need to.
And there's already another one.
I'll make it easier. It's gross. Soggy bread again. Thanks.
No problem.
Alright, so I need to.
Before you start,
Okay.
so we explore. We understand what the question is asking us to do. Wonderful. And how are you going to plan on answering that?
I was just gonna do kind of like a chart thing.
Okay?
I was gonna do the temperature, like I was gonna take the 10 and do it, and then put my answer over here, and then do the 20 or the 15 and then the answer, just kind of like a list
And you-
thing.
What variables get replaced with the average?
The C, the little tiny C.
See, look. You're doing this just wonderful. And show.
I can
Okay.
actually do the math.
Let's see the magic. Okay, just for my own future reference, when we do things like this with our fourth graders, they want to do everything in their head, like as fast as
Yeah.
they can, and not write this out like that. When did you learn that you need to actually write out the problem in its entirety before you actually answer it? Do you remember?
Probably 6th grade.
Okay.
Because we weren't doing anything in depth.
Yeah, it
in
was
4th
more
and
like,
5th. It was like we were learning why we needed to do certain things with certain setups. Like,
because ours was more like function tables.
well, we were doing like average, median, mode, a lot of that, like measurements, learning how to do graphs on a coordinate plane, just kind of like the odds and the ends to get us ready to start being able to do this. And I used to not write it out, but then I'd forget what number I had put in where, and I wouldn't remember.
I'm going to use you as an example, just to let you know.
Oh, go ahead.
Probably for the rest of the time I'm teaching it my entire life.
So,
I'm just impressed that you, like, wrote it out in its entirety.
I usually leave out the equals
Yeah.
just because it takes out, and I get confused. I'm gonna go through. I don't really need my scientific, oh, maybe I do. Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I don't think there's a square on the other one, is there?
Mm-mm.
I have a question. Do that again. I want to say do that. The 0.5 times 10 squared.
Oh, wrong thing. Nope. The equal sign.
But, what does PEMDAS mean?
Exponent.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, I would have realized it when I got down through it, and then it wouldn't have made sense, and then I would have had to gone back and redo everything.
Do you remember PEMDAS? However you say it.
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Yes.
Whatever it is. So,
But that's a hook. We took a whole big conference on hooks and how to get kids to remember things. Much better. And I really didn't use the exponents when I knew that 10 squared is 100 and everything is 15.
yeah.
Very nice. Do you think we'll find a pattern?
Probably,
Or do you think so?
because these all go up by an equal amount every time, so these will have to do that.
See, all of that helps in problem solving, so it's just easy.
That's it, because that will cancel each other. Yeah.
When you have gone through, this has nothing to do with this problem. When you have gone through math and stuff in all of your schooling, did you ever have the opportunity to do math groups? Do you know how like you used to do reading groups in school?
Mhm.
Did you ever have the opportunity to do math groups?
Not as like in, not like the reading groups, we would get, most of our teachers up until, even up until these past 2 years would, at some point during the year, rearrange the desks so that we'd be sitting next to someone, or we'd be in a group of people, and if we got free time to work on the homework or whatever, we'd work together, and they'd be okay with that. But a few times we were even allowed to work on like the quizzes and tests together if it was a hard subject. But we usually didn't do that. There were certain exceptions to the rule. When we were doing Sokotoa, we were allowed to work together on some of it. And then, I don't remember, there were a few things in Algebra 1 that you let us work together on, just because
You had Fred for Algebra 1.
yeah, it was just, he had low test scores in the past on that section. And he found out letting everybody work together with at least one other person raised the test scores a little bit.
Yeah. I was just curious. I'm going to try math groups just like reading groups. I am going to have the inclusion math class, so I'll have some lower learning abilities, and I think I want to try some math groups this year just to see how that.
I think that even though we weren't supposed to, we would still work together on homework. And I was, during the lessons and stuff, I would be towards the lower end of understanding. So I'd get somebody like the girl that sat next to me before I changed math periods. She was really quick with it, and she understood parts of it that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So we'd work together to try to, and I would understand something she wouldn't understand, so we'd kind of.
Did that help you working with peers?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of how I envision it, like I want to have stations or centers, whatever you want to call it.
You can find somebody that understands the part that you don't, and you could understand something they don't, and by the end of it, you could both understand it better. Which, I don't remember what it was with, it was proofs.
Yeah.
I could set it up, but I couldn't figure out, like I could get like what we had to do, but I couldn't get the reason,
Yeah.
So she understood the reasoning part of it, so we would work together to do that.
I like that. Sorry to interrupt your train.
It's fine. I finished a section of it, that was the perfect time.
I do want to try that this year, just to see it.